one, but even that, I still think Tefel's good enough to beat MaNa here, I would say. Maybe a close series, maybe 2-1, but I would still edge over Tefel to win this one.
Alrighty then. Well, Frost is just about to load up, so without further ado, we can get into game number 1 to find out who is going to advance onto the Intel Extreme Masters Cologne, as we have spawning up to the top left as our red Protoss. It's teamless MaNa, and up to the top right, we have Dignitas Tefel.
All right, so we're quite sure on how Tefel's going to play this one out. Going to be playing it very reactionary, very defensive, lots of scouting, and just sticking to his common builds, which are spawn and pull first into hatchery, and then depending on what he sees with his opponent, well then either take an extractor for Zergling speed or look for a faster third. And MaNa, as just previously, as we saw Stardust, is throwing down the pylon on the low ground, which means just kind of one thing. With the probe moving out so fast, it's most likely going to be a Forge play, not Nexus, first. It is a little bit more difficult to squeeze in the Nexus without getting rushed by Zerglings, with having the probe not mining, not working, not slaving away like the rest of them.
At least he gets the good scout off though, right? Towards his opponent's base and see what's going to be going on soon. But he's playing against Tefel, so you can pretty much imagine it's going to be spawning pool first. As it would be crazy to see any other deviation, especially now that the probe is over here as well.
Yeah, it's going to be spawn and pull. You can't go hatch first when the probe's there, you just get blocked.
Yep.
So spawn and pull first. MaNa, I probably would imagine he'd try to block the natural for a little bit here with his probe. Once the... You can kind of time it out. You know he's not ready to build the hatchery yet, but he will be in the next 15 seconds or so. So MaNa is just right now just harassing the mineral lines a little bit, mining on one patch to force the drone to run to another, and then it'll come down and block for a little bit here, I imagine. May force a pylon out.
He may do, but meanwhile, if he doesn't, then he's going to have the money very quickly here for a Nexus, which he's already lining up for with that probe over the left-hand side. So you can only spend your money a few in one big location at a time if you're going to go for that.
Le français, le petit pois.
No.
Vous le voir.
Fox. Alright, anyway. Tefel is not pleased, Sean. Oh, okay, he's pleased now. He might be even more pleased. No, he's not going to get that, no way. Okay, so hatchery does the plant. We have the forge on the way.
Qu'est-ce que bois noir.
Okay, so... That reminds me, I have a croissant in my bag. Oh, sick. Awesome.
Le français, l'internet.
Alright, this has triggered everyone to start talking. Here we go. The floodgates have opened. Yep, see. So 20 seconds left on that.
Tu veux fox le stupide.
Le stupid. Is that... Wait, no. I don't know any French, man. And the small bit of French that I actually do know is really bad and badly pronunciated, so... Yeah. No, no, no. Leave, Fox. Bye-bye.
His house have no internet.
Alright, he's gone. He is gone. Back into the game. Probe trying to run away. He actually brought a second drone to try and hunt that down, but didn't get it in the end.
Alright, so MaNa is squeezed in that Nexus, but luckily for him there's no Zerglings been made anyway. Could have been a bit of trouble considering the Forge is a little bit later than usual, and the cannon would come later.
Oh, cute.
The probe being over there, just delaying his Nexus by a little bit because he's not mining. But overall, MaNa is good to go from 2 bases. Tefel, not taking the extractor here, will be looking towards getting that faster third base from this position. And I imagine, can only imagine, he'd be playing it exactly the same as he just did on Heavy Rain versus Stardust.
Yeah, it could happily do so. I mean, he just gets up to that 60, 62, 64 drone mark, and then from that point on, it's Roach Hydra, all guns blasting, marching across the map if he wants to. And MaNa's going to have to try and deal with that. And he is somebody that does like to take quick thirds if he gets the opportunity to.
Yep, absolutely. With MaNa, he's managed to keep this probe alive. He's going down the bottom right here. I'm not too sure what for. Maybe just to hide on the high ground for later purposes. I can't really imagine that being anything down there.
Yeah.
A little bit scary if it was to be something. It doesn't line up to be anything down there. He should just be focusing on his own build, which I'd imagine would be the Stargate followed next. It's one of the safest options to choose, having the ability to switch over to Phoenixes in an instant. if you were to be caught by that mutilus switch, which happens so often.
Well, the cybernetics core is in a bit of a suspect position here for MaNa. I can only assume he's going to try and hide it for something, maybe like he chrono boosts into it, but or just keeps it completely hidden away from his opponent to try and keep him in the dark. But the thing is about that is that if this area is breached and if for some reason no Overseer will be with it, it's very easy to pick off for Roaches and Hydras.
That's right. That's right, but hopefully by that time he'd have a sufficient enough army to be able to hold on.
Yeah.
Well, Stargate is the choice here from MaNa at the back of his base. Mothership core now being added on afterwards. And double gas is coming down here. I'd imagine he'd be going for a couple of gateways after this and then the robotics facility not too far away. And Zealot is going to go check out this third base, just make sure it is there. +1 has started as well. And that does actually slow down him from going over to the robotics facility kind of fast. Having taken 100 gas away, and especially because he's got to build Phoenixes from this point too, remember. He can't even afford it, or he can actually just afford a Phoenix there. And it's all good.
All good for now, as just cranking those out where he can. And he may even send this just down to the south, try and clear out this Overlord. Once again, keep his opponent a little bit more in the dark, but the Roach Warren's being added on for Tefel, as is the layer, so he can get that Hydralisk in nice and quick.
And MaNa's doing something which we don't really see too often, which is pooling all the Phoenixes together back at home. And this, I mean, oh, okay, he is moving out now. Okay, never mind.
A little bit slower. That used to be the older style, I guess, of just pooling them and then the surprise attack, right? Of, hey, I have 3 Phoenix, even maybe 4. I was like, oh, okay, so you've got to react to that.
Yeah.
But for now, I mean, Tefel seems pretty comfortable. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, and I mean, he should be feeling quite good in this position. He's actually adding on the 5th and 6th Gath right now, which means he'd be looking towards Hydras quite fast in this game, trying to increase his income. Realizing that MaNa would be playing or likes to use the Phoenix into Colossus base play. And will be looking to move out very soon. He's added on his 3 gateways. Actually, Twilight Council. A Twilight Council coming in this fast is not normal. Not normal at all here. He's going to most likely be looking to take his 3rd base soon no matter what. But he's going to research Blink, and he's probably going to build Immortals and not add on the robotics bay for Colossus.
Potentially a cute move here from MaNa, whilst he does continually harass and gets a few Overlords for his troubles, so a nice move there. But at the same time, Tefel hasn't made the same mistake that he did in the previous game, which was getting those Overlords out in a nice, timely fashion. So this is lining up a bit better here for Tefel.
Oh, MaNa actually has decided to keep up with the robotic space, but he is using +2 attack rather than going for the armor, which means obviously the upgrades are out a lot faster. And overall, he's going to be playing this quite dangerously, I'd imagine. Be able to take a 3rd base soon, but more importantly, he's going to be lining up different sorts of timings. Like, with +2 attack done, he can counter-attack after the Hydralisks are done. He'd obviously be able to go over into +3 attack relatively fast as well in this game.
And the Hydralisks need to shoo these Phoenix away, otherwise he's going to lose another Overlord. An Overlord go away with like 1 health just before, so MaNa not sticking around for too long to kill that.
But it shows us without the armor upgrade, he's not going to be reliant on, you know, Zealots that much at all in this game. He's just going to be reliant on the amount of damage his units can do, which is obviously going to be the Colossus. So I expect no further air units in this game, I'd imagine, from MaNa. It'll just be focused very heavily on the Colossus, and also a lot of additional gateways for gateway units here. So once the +2 is done, +3 is done. I'm not sure if he'd wait all the way for +3, but most likely definitely +2. He's going to be getting rather aggressive.
And catches himself a Hydralisk. That's a nice pickup, if I ever saw one. As we do have more Roaches on the way here, just to complement the already rising Hydralisk numbers that he added on initially, just to shoo away the Phoenix where he can. And the 3rd base now is well and truly underway for MaNa, building himself a nice wall to try and keep that defensively set up as well.
Tefel's time to shine, though. He's about to pump out a lot of units, and he is going to start moving over towards that location soon.
It's a scary thing to deal with as a Protoss. It's you basically, as in Tefel's position, get maxed out around that 13-minute mark on Roach Hydra, which is far more sustainable here than it is just with Roach exclusively.
Here we go. Is MaNa going to be able to hold up his defense strong enough not to lose his 3rd base? He has no cannons over there, bear in mind.
And he has to use these force fields sparingly. He only has 3 sentries worth of force fields.
+2 attack is quite a few seconds away from finishing. He really would like that to be able to hold on. Photon Overcharge must be activated immediately, but that isn't going to scare Tefel away too easily.
That one Colossus has to be very careful. It doesn't have thermal lance for quite a long time here. So Tefel's going to try and poke away, try and draw his opponent out from where he can. Nice force field usage so far, despite only having very, very limited numbers of them. There are a few units caught in between those, but the sentries will end up dying. They had a few force fields left over on them, so now he has no more space control, has to retreat from the third.
There was a counter-attack from MaNa with Zealots to the third base, but that was cleaned up pretty fast. And that were 3 units that he couldn't use to help defend, and this third base will be breached, just like the previous game when Tefel played against Stardust. It is broken down, and well, Tefel finds himself in brilliant position once again.
Yeah, it's deja vu here as Tefel looks to just retreat on out. He knows that as long as he keeps his opponent on 2 base and he's maxed out, transitioning onto Vipers once again, he is going to be hunky-dory. There's not really too much that MaNa can do. He can try and get Colossi numbers up and then maybe add on these gateways, go for some kind of big Colossus blink play, but it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, that was always his plan here, I felt, was to be able to go over to a Stalker Colossus army with blink eventually, with going for such an aggressive set of upgrades. But as we can see, his plan has been stuck because he's lost his third. He doesn't have the income to support a high army count, doesn't have the income to really race up with his upgrades either. And now Tefel, who is on his way to Hive, and he's going towards Vipers, and will be looking to get those out soon. And MaNa knows that he's on to Hive.
Big engagement with a few force fields thrown down to try and stifle the movement of this army. Time Warp also helps. So really strategical placement there, and very accurately placed by MaNa to make sure his opponent can't advance forwards. But still, he has to deal with the second wave. And he has the firepower now. He has 3 Colossi in this army.
Yeah, he's not too many force fields though.
Certainly so. The Time Warp will slow down the Hydralisk predominantly in the middle of that army as the Mothership Core does end up dying, so has to replenish that pretty quickly. Good control from MaNa, slowly chipping away at that Roach Hydralisk number, which does have to fall back.
Yeah, and MaNa really needs to move soon, because once the Vipers are out and the Colossus are being dragged into the Roach Hydra army, that's when things get difficult. There may be an opportunity before the Vipers are ready he could fight, but of course he's just on continuously fighting against this Roach Hydra. And without too many force fields, it's hard to just move across the map to go fight himself.
Does he have a 4th Colossus about to join this? Yes, he does. It's almost finished. He's chrono boosting that. Now I can't remember where the Robo is. No, he's just chrono boosting on his gateways. But regardless, that will join along with this. Now, if we see MaNa get an opportunistic blink in, like we saw from Stardust to try and snipe out the Vipers, then that could turn the tide in these battles. But he has to be careful about it.
Well, there is 3 Zealots counter-attack towards the third. There's the Phoenixes harassing the non-mined 4th, while MaNa pokes through the middle of the map. Temper Archives has been added as he's realized he is playing against Vipers now, having seen the Hive completed and Vipers on the third. If he's able to land the feedbacks necessary, he would keep his Colossus alive. There's no Spy, there's no Corruptors, there's 4 Colossus with +2. Would deal out a lot of damage.
I mean,
Temper Archives is close to finishing. Is it close enough? And it should be just in time for the Vipers as they get over there. But can he even land the feedbacks?
Yeah. Credit where credit's due. MaNa's been very active about continuing his Phoenix control and trying to find ways in, but
Temple Archive's almost ready. Doesn't want to use all his gateways.
he could try and bring the 3 Phoenix back in this engagement to focus down the Vipers, but it's going to be too late. They're way out of position. Those Vipers do pull 2 Colossi forwards, but one of them walks back straight away. The second one will end up dissolving under the pressure of those Roaches and Hydras. They only have 1/1 compared to the +2 weapons of these Stalkers and Colossi. 3 are still alive, and they will push Tefel back.
Yeah, good fight there by MaNa. Survives and lives to fight another day against 17 more Roaches and 7 more Hydras. But remember, Tefel is getting weaker and weaker the longer the game goes on now. MaNa's taken this third. He only lost a single Colossus, which means that can be replaced. Warp Prism and a Templar have now popped out, or will just about to pop out.
Did you mention just now that he lost the 2 Vipers? Yeah, okay, because that's a really big deal.
Yeah, has to rebuild those.
All right.
His Colossus still reign superiority on this field. More gateways being added on here for MaNa. +3 attack glooming.
But this is kind of what I was saying before. Like Tefel, yes, Roach Hydra is his bread and butter. This is what he always sticks to, and Vipers are there as well. But like, where does he go after this? All ranged upgrades for a Zerg are always mid-game focused. It's really the melee upgrades that will be focused on to the later stages.
Yeah. I mean, he hasn't looked for any transitions at all. It's just Roach Hydra, Viper. There's no transitions to go from this. I suppose he could go over to Swarm Host, but it's not ideal in this circumstance. He could have started Aspire and started some +1 attacks, but all his gas has been devoted to his current army. So MaNa, as mentioned, is getting stronger and stronger and stronger for every second that ticks by here.
And he's looking to try and exploit the high ground to fire down on some of these probes. The concave is not going to be the best here for Tefel, as it's a bit of a weird location to fight
great
into.
Feedbacks.
Oh,
great blinding cloud,
fantastic.
though.
And even the Phoenix are trying to take out one of those Vipers at the very end. Taking that out would be very, very nice. But the 3 Colossi, they still go uncontested. There's nothing that Tefel can do about them.
And there's a 4th one about to pop out now as well. So 4 Colossus, more Roach Hydra are being made. MaNa is down in supply, but he would get position on this 4th base.
Yeah.
He may be able to snipe it and then back out. At least he'll do damage to the drone line.
Once you lose an engagement like that from Tefel and you're in these spawning locations, this 4th base is going to be questionable.
This is a wonderful position to be in for MaNa up on this high ground. Bring the 4th Colossus, bring a few sentries. You can cut up the ramp so he can't actually come up and attack you. You're going to pick off the 4th base of the Zerg player. Beautiful position.
Very nicely done. It looks like Tefel setting up a few units in the middle of the map here to try and find another way in. But for now, those 3 Vipers will head on forwards. He brings the Stalkers forwards for just a second, catches one of those Vipers without even blinking, uses it defensively just to get out of there.
Well, MaNa's got +3 now. He's got 4 Colossus and a 5th about to pop. And with still 3 High Templars around to support this with feedbacks on the Vipers.
Yeah.
Finding it very difficult here for Tefel to find an opportunity to win this game. It was earlier, if any chance was present.
Okay, there it is, the Overseer. I was going to say just before, the reason, obviously, MaNa could get that Viper so easily and know the positioning entirely is because there's been an Overseer over there knowing where the movements were exactly. But now there is an Overseer with Tefel's army, so he should be able to deny something like that from happening. There's a few more Zealots down to the south that are going to load into a Warp Prism, maybe? No, they're just going to run.
Where does he go from here? Where does Tefel go from here? A beautiful engagement is really the only way. He's got the Infestation Pit again, for some reason. I'm not too sure what that is. Probably looking at Swarm Host, but forgot he had it.
Yep.
Bit of a classic mistake there. But MaNa, I think, is going to go fight now. He's almost at Torrential Supply. It's the perfect opportunity to do so.
It really is. He's going to have a lot of firepower behind this. He may end up waiting for Storm since he did just start it, but aside from that, I mean, he's in the driving seat right now, I feel. The melee weapons has now started for Tefel, but
it's a little bit too late.
It's a massive afterthought. Massive.
Yeah, and MaNa, well, there's the Ultras Cavern come down late, so that's where he's going to go to next. MaNa going to set up a 4th base, and while setting up this 4th base, it'll be the time to move out very, very soon here. Just waiting for Storm, I'd imagine, to complete. Otherwise, there's really no reason not to go against this Roach Hydra army. Do not give any breathing room to Tefel, who is actually moving in himself here.
Looking to shut down the 4th base.
There's 2 upgrades on these Roach and Hydra, remember?
Does force the cancel, so that's not too bad. Once again, he's trying to starve out MaNa. He knows, well, Tefel knows that he probably has a way bigger bank than his opponent at this point. Because, you know, MaNa for the whole time has just been on 3 base trying to accrue the 200 of 200 army, which is there and is very, very powerful. But if Tefel can trade away some, maybe he'll be okay.
Yeah, Ultras are going to try and enter this field now. Remember, Tefel does have a lot in his bank, so obviously that's very, very nice. And MaNa doesn't know about the Ultra switch yet, but they're not going to be that well upgraded. And against all the Colossus, all the Stalkers with +3 attack, it's going to be hard to make these Ultras work, I suppose. But you will have a lot of them, remember. The Remax of Ultras is going to be very, very scary. And Ultras are great versus Stalker, Colossus, High Templar. It's just if he can trade off this army and get the upgrades flowing for his Ultralisks,
yeah,
to then really be able to utilize them well.
It's going to take a while, it really is. But now MaNa is hurtling through the middle of the map, also putting on some pressure at the 4th base. It looks like he's going to take a straight-up engagement. Really nice storms across a lot of that right-hand flank. The left-hand side also not really doing a whole lot right now for Tefel. Big, big storms have shredded up a lot of that army. The Vipers really haven't done too much. There's still 5 Colossi in this army, and the Roach and Hydra get absolutely incinerated.
They do, but look at the bank that Tefel still has and the units that are coming out.
Ooh. Well, it's going to be all on the Ultralisks because Lings and Roaches, I don't know if they can do too much unless they all converge on this one location at exactly the same time.
Yep. That's what he's going to need, but MaNa's still got all these Colossus alive. He's got a 4th base about to finish mining, finish being built so he can mine from it. Tefel has been hurt a lot. He's lost a couple of hatcheries here, a lot of drones. He's down in his economy, still has a decent bank, but a lot of gas. Ultras not fully upgraded, so they're not that strong. MaNa even sees it and jumps forward to take the opportunity to wear them down.
Wow. This is the Tefel school of don't need no Spire to deal with your Colossi, but right now it's not fully working out. The Vipers in that last engagement were not very useful whatsoever. So he's having a bit of a hard time competing with the presence of MaNa here.
Starting to add on Immortals and Archons, and Ultras are only really good for a surprise. And now that the surprise has been opened, MaNa already knows what's coming his way, and he's already started to mold his composition to deal with them. Immortals and Archons are going to destroy these very fast. Tefel has a time window, and it's not that large.
And he's looking to try and move in from a big concave there that he set up during all of that. Took one storm during it. The storms continue to be pretty good, but he can't let the gap be closed by these Ultralisks. He loses one of the Colossi, but still the army of MaNa will hold it, will persevere. He blinks forwards with those Stalkers to kill off one of the Ultras, and he's sending Zealots down to this base at the south.
Yeah, more harassment will continue. That hatchery should die, to be honest. The Spine Crawler will go first, then the hatchery to follow it. And MaNa are even harassing at the north as well, with piling up there and 5 Zealots being warped in. And he's going to try to bring down that hatchery and probably be successful, considering it's only at 370 hit points.
Yeah, all of MaNa's plays right now have been very focused on these later compositions. I mean, a lot of Protoss players in general are focused on that later composition because it just becomes super strong. And now MaNa is really reaping the rewards of that, whilst Tefel scrambling around with +1 weapons Ultras. I mean, they tank a lot, but he's losing all bases, and he's not even that mobile with this army.
And now there's even 2 Immortals in the army, a 3rd one popping, and there's going to be 3 Archons. Second robotics facility. MaNa can slowly take a 5th here. He can play this out very patiently and very methodically, as it's up to Tefel to utilize the Ultralisk while they're still useful in this game. And that's not for much longer, even though he's about to get +2 for his Ultralisks. When your opponent has the right army to deal with them, they will melt instantly.
Yeah.
The only hope is some awesome blinding clouds, but of course there's no fungal to lock them in place, which means the Protoss army can move out of it quite easily. Tefel's time is running out.
Yeah, very slow and steady style here from MaNa. His Zealots are pressuring at all of these base locations down to the south, near the natural. And now the army is going to assault the remaining swarm that does linger. Good Viper clouds as well as grabs. The Colossi are very hard pressed to get back to their entire Stalker count. But now, even with that, Tefel just does not have the army size to compete.
No, he does not. And this should be MaNa's victory here. He doesn't even need to really control his units properly as he comes marching through. Superior upgrade, superior army composition, and everything Tefel has, it's gone.
GG. MaNa takes game number 1. It looked good for Tefel at the beginning. The Roach Hydra was able to deny that base, but then the follow-through from that point on just wasn't there.
Yeah, he's really strong in the early to mid-game Tefel, but does start to suffer as the game drags on. And unfortunately didn't really set up a transition, which means he can move from one army to another, one strategy to another fast enough. And MaNa, in that small little opportunity in between the long drawn-out transition that Tefel had to go for, was able to get back in and find himself winning, and now just 1 game away from qualifying for the Intel Masters Cologne.
And now it's Heavy Rain, a map that we did see Tefel play very well with the Roach Hydra composition on when he was playing against Stardust. So he could try and exploit that similar angle again that he attacked from. MaNa was playing a similar kind of build towards what we were seeing from Stardust before. So this could certainly be a similar repeat performance if Tefel's able to execute it correctly.
Yeah, and I think MaNa, having watched the games against Stardust, I'd imagine, and then watching him playing that last game he just did, he's got to be careful not to take too early of a third base himself, because that's where Tefel seems to be able to break you down on that third. And like Stardust, as long as he doesn't try to be too greedy there like Stardust was, he will be able to find that third base eventually, which is where he'll need to hold on to, because he did lose that in that last game, and it did start to swing very heavily in favor of Tefel. But loading into Heavy Rain now, all to play for. Tefel needs to win 2 in a row if he wants to qualify for the Intel Masters. MaNa, just 1.
All right, so loading up the final game, potentially, of the night. Let's see if MaNa will advance on, or Tefel could tie it up. As we jump right on in, spawning down to the southern position as our blue Zerg, representing Team Dignitas, it's Tefel. And up 1 game, it's teamless MaNa.
That's right, no team currently for him. He was a part of Team Mousesports for a very long time throughout his entire StarCraft 2 career. But unfortunately, did not re-sign with them most recently. and now is just by himself. But luckily, if he does win this tournament, win this single game, he doesn't need team support to come to the Intel Extreme Masters because it is all paid for by Intel and ESL. And you are able to come and play all free of charge when it comes to your flights and accommodation.
The flight's really cheap, like super, super cheap, but the hotel might not be.
Yeah, not for an Intel Extreme Masters, which is at least 3 days long, and come a day before, day after, does start to rack up hotel bills.
All right, well, Tefel, you got to prove yourself at this point, my friend. I mean, he's already proved himself quite considerably over the past 2 days, and it's been a treat to watch. But now, 1 game down. Can he do it here against MaNa, who it's a player he's played a lot in the past? So, you know, maybe he has a mental block like MaNa used to against Nurchio. We'll see.
Look at this probe movement. It's gone all the way around the right-hand side here. It's a little bit funky. I'm not too sure why he just didn't go straight through the middle. I'm not sure at all, actually. I have no idea why he took that funky pathway.
We're going to have to ask him.
Yeah, I don't know why he did that. But he has arrived successfully at the expansion of his opponent.
Yeah,
but he managed to change up his style. It's Gateway, not Nexus first this time.
I'm trying to think. I guess he wanted to avoid the initial Overlord.
Yep, that's the only thing that makes sense. Maybe if the probe hadn't have been spotted, maybe he thought he was playing against a different style.
Yeah. Regardless, MaNa's now just walling off in the most normal of normal Wings of Liberty ways. And he's going to stick around outside of range of that drone for a second, waiting for this pylon. I think he wants to try and dart in there and throw down another pylon after the cancellation, which is something he normally does get away with when he tries it, but looks to just delay for a little bit here. Oh, and actually loses the probe in the end. That was good drone control, actually.
Yeah, good drone control there from Tefel, who was actually moving out to take a 3rd base with a single drone, but then brought that drone back to build the extractor upon seeing that he is playing against this Gateway expansion. The Nexus will be thrown down just after the Mothership Core has been made, which the Mothership Core will protect. Probe line will protect the Nexus and will protect the pylon that should be thrown down on the low ground very shortly to start to create a wall-off against any aggressive Zerg play. But I can hardly imagine Tefel changing up his game. He just is the same player game in, game out.
Oh, yeah.
And it'll be MaNa who will try to trick somebody rather than Tefel.
Maybe go for some Gateway pressure, who knows? Could quite easily go for Stargate as well. But the Gateway pressure off the back of this Gateway expand would work out quite nicely. Has he thrown a single Chrono Boost into the Cybernetics core? I don't think so.
Not yet, no.
No, okay.
Not yet.
Well, that dispels that myth, potentially, as Tefel's just going to retreat on back with these 2 Zerglings now. And still no sign of a 3rd base. He wants to be super careful. He wants to get his speed out first before any kind of, or at least started before any kind of craziness goes on.
He's kind of boosted into the Cybercore now, but he's also taken a 2nd gas. So with a 2nd gas, obviously that means that he can tech from this position quite easily, actually. With 1 Gateway down and a 2nd one to follow it, the Stargate's going to cost him 150, and he's already up there or quite close to it. Does he decide to throw this into the Stargate? Is it going to be into units? What are you trying to do, MaNa?
Yeah, there's a probe down to the bottom left. Might use that for... Oh, there we go, though.
There we are. So there is a Stargate. Now the 2nd gas has been taken. So from this position, he is set up quite nicely. I'm not too sure why there was that kind of boost just once into the Cybercore. Maybe because he doesn't want to queue up any units and will just want to warp in 3 units as soon as these gateways are finished, or at least 1 unit, should we say. But so far, so good for Tefel, who is now looking, or will be looking, to take his 3rd base, as his Zergling speed is on the way. And he is quite diligent with the scouting Zerglings, but not good enough, as there is a probe and pylon down to the bottom right here.
Well, yeah, I think probably, I guess if he wants to go in with some Stargate pressure and then send some Zealots over to the 3rd location, this could work out quite nicely for him.
Yeah, 2 Zealots there. This will come as a surprise if he
Yeah.
starts to build them up. An Oracle is being built here, so it's not going to be the regular Phoenix play with an Oracle coming out and 2 Zealots already down to the bottom left, which may get picked up here by these Zerglings.
But he's going to miss it by the looks of things.
Yeah,
You know...
he misses it. Oh, or does he?
Oh, well, interesting spot to
He
stop.
does miss it.
Wow, that's really, really close for Tefel. He could actually use the Oracle in a straight-up fight with the Zealots as well, actually. It gets rid of Zerglings super quick, and it makes those Zealots all the more potent once the engagement comes.
Oracle has not been spotted here at all. There's quite a few Zerglings at the front door. May force a sentry to be made as he chrono boosts the gateways as he just walked in, actually. A rather unfortunate. Stalker may have to move in to take the Zealot's position.
Yeah.
Sentry on the high ground, though. Should be just in time. Good time,
Nice.
good force field. But now the Zealots. The Oracle inside the main base. Gonna bring down the Queen, gonna bring down drones, while Zealots on the third.
This is difficult for Tefel to deal with. He doesn't have his Roach Warren finished up. He's trying to get a lot of Zerglings out. He's also swinging back with the Zerglings that were from the main as well, but he's already got 7 kills with the Oracle.
Oh, the hatchery's at half health.
Oh, if he gets that hatchery as well as all the Zealots.
There should be enough coming in, Zerglings.
Yeah, that's a lot of Zerglings to be able to deal with that.
Lucky that. Flag's gone down. 7 worker kills.
How many Queens do we still have? We still have 2 alive, so he should be okay. But yeah, you're right. Those 7 kills that he got with the Oracle, it's quite nice. Yeah, quite nice indeed.
As long as he can go in again, that main mineral line is completely naked at the moment from defense, but he doesn't have that much energy on the Oracle.
No replenishment of a Queen there just yet, so has to be careful about that, does Tefel.
Yeah, doesn't want to make these small mistakes. Well, he actually rebuilt it on the natural, so 1 Queen goes back up. So he is okay there. MaNa, by the looks of it, is going to take his third base in a couple of seconds. Not going to further his assault, but will take it quite comfortably, I'd imagine. Has slowed down his opponent quite a bit with the worker kills, but there are quite a few Zerglings coming in.
Yeah.
Should be okay, though, as long as he does warp in a couple more units.
He was up at like the 35 Zergling count, so that's a lot of lava that's been invested in that. Of course, he did want to deal with the Zealots, and it did shoot them away quite nicely, but right now, he wants to make use of them somehow, and he's going to try and poke with it.
Tefel's not droning up any further. He's at 56 drones. Ooh. He's not added delay or evolution chambers. He's only Roach and Lings. He's going to try and break this third base of MaNa. MaNa needs pylons down. He needs to get cannons down there as well, but one structure I do not see right now is the Forge. He doesn't have a Forge. He cannot cannon. He cannot defend this third base with the cannons. It will have to be only units. And if Tefel, again, is able to break this third...
Yeah, it's going to be sad times for him. A lot of Lings flood on in. He has some space control with the force fields. He just needs the firepower to hold off against this, because with the Roach... I mean, he sees the Roaches with the Observer.
I mean, without the Forge, he's actually just selected a second robotics facility, but
wow, this
is not going to be used anytime soon here. This is going to be very difficult to hold on. If the Nexus can only complete, he can use the Photon Overcharge, but...
Oh, it's going to be very close. Those Roaches are already working away at it, and I think he's going to be forced to cancel. Their one Immortal from the backside is going to try and help on out. I guess if he gets in trouble, he could recall. There's the Photon Overcharge. But the Immortal needs to save itself, though. It's trying desperately to do so. That Sentry could force field out the main. If he's able to hold on here, that is miraculous.
I don't think he can. There are so many Roaches streaming across here. And MaNa finds himself in a difficult position yet again.
He gets the Nexus, but we've seen this happen once already, but this is a bit of a different scenario. That's a lot of Roaches knocking at his door. He's trying to get a Void Ray out, as well as double Immortals Corona boosted out, but I don't know if he'll get out in time.
No, not if it's turned off. It's not going to get out in time here.
All right, that one Void Ray can actually put a big timer on this. So he needs to come along quickly.
And
but
here's the Hydra Den and 7 extra drones as well to make sure he can, you know, mine enough gas to build the Hydralisks.
Difficult times.
These gateways turned on. He doesn't have many gateways. He only got 1, remember?
And that pylon needs to finish so he can actually make some more units. He adds on a few more because he was almost supply blocked there for a second.
It's not too bad that he lost his Nexus. It's a pain in the backside, but he can go rebuild it now. I'd hope with the use of the Void Rays out, we'll push this back eventually here, especially because there's another one coming out.
Yep.
I mean, Tefel can't just sit there with his Roaches outside the third base all day with the Void Ray out.
No, it's just
with 3 Immortals, 4 Immortals.
Yeah, it'd be so inefficient. I mean, there is a lot of free damage being done here by MaNa to these units, but they do get out pretty much for free in the end after that last bit of engagement.
Remember that no evolution chambers were used throughout this game, so he doesn't have the best upgrades on these units. Double evolution chambers coming in to catch up on that. But MaNa's time to take his third is now. I think it's a little bit risky to move over to try to attack from this position. I would prefer to take a third in this location. You're not that far behind, especially with the Oracle still alive and doing kills throughout the game, 12 kills in total.
And 4 Immortals do actually provide him a great backbone to this army. The Void Ray is still trying to hunt down some Roaches where it can.
MaNa's coming to catch some of these units with his Immortals, I think.
Where are they going, actually, these Roaches? I don't think they really have a hope in hell to actually do any more damage to that third.
Yeah, Void Ray out, another Void Ray is there too, so would have been a bit risky.
But all of that comes at a very, I want to call it like a very Vortex-esque play, which is delaying those evolution chambers, and he's only now just started 1-1. So...
Yep. Oh, Oracle dead. Sees the Hydra, sees the double evolution chamber. Knows that Colossus is going to be super important once again in this game. But MaNa's not out of it yet. He's going to move down here. No, Mothership. Oh, Mothership, of course, right behind. If he snipes this and recalls back to that third, it would be nice. But of course, if he does that, that's no photon overcharge available to help protect on. He'd have to really rely on it. He knows the army's on the left-hand side there. He can see it.
Yeah, and actually the army gets drawn back completely. So this is a nice move by MaNa. He gets out for free, or one would think that he gets out for 3.
Yeah, he can push forward a little bit though. Definitely still, I mean, with 2 Colossus there and a few force fields, definitely can extract more value from these units. Recalling back is a safe option, but I think he maybe had extract some more value maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, there's that lava about to pop out, Hydra.
I guess he... Poor one little Hydra. I guess he's a little bit apprehensive because he doesn't have that many gateway units with the army.
Yeah, so I think this is a decent choice, actually, the decision-making here. Instead of going on to extract more value from these units and then recall back, he's going to go back and not recall and then have a photon overcharge if necessary. So I think that's nice. I do like that.
And the Roaches and Hydras, they still haven't spotted this pylon down to the bottom left. So that base that MaNa does know about down to the south is going to be contested pretty soon, as long as he can defend his third.
Well, the Vipers are out. Templar Archives on the way. Might not be ready this time.
Same angle. Looking for it. Setting up these 2 clumps of units on the right-hand side. The Zealot does spot a lot of this. Has to be careful. Force field's very important here.
MaNa doesn't have any upgrades either, and it is 1-1 versus 0-0. Photon overcharge.
There's one grab. That first Colossus falls down very quickly. Second one gets dragged forward, but it doesn't get focused down as avidly, and does manage to get away just with its life. Photon overcharge as well as those force fields, holding this unit composition at bay for now.
No more pulls for now. Well, there is one left actually on that Viper. He's going to be careful. He needs some Zealots warped in to protect the front lines.
And those Roaches on the left-hand side are not really doing too much. Another pull does occur, but there's not enough units at that location to be able to take it down just barely. At the very last shot gets it, but MaNa holds onto his third, and also he forces the kill and cancellation down to the south.
That's right. So 3 base versus 3 base economy, I'd probably say is slightly in favor of the Zerg play, but not for much longer, as MaNa is about to fully manage his economy on that 3rd base. He's got his Templar out now. Double Colossus being made 4 gateways. I think MaNa's going to strike soon. Remember, there is still no Forge. Oh, I mean, sorry, there is a Forge. Sorry, there's just +1 attack for MaNa.
Yeah.
But he definitely has an opportunity to do well in this game. He's played it out really well, slowed down his opponent's economy, he just needs to pace it out a little bit, rebuild that army back up. And with double Colossus production and Templars ready to feed back, an interesting style from Tefel, staying away from Mutalisk, staying away from the Spire in general for Corruptors, having to really nail the abducts from these Vipers. Gives MaNa the opportunity to get back in this game as long as he gets his feedbacks.
And once again, a little bit of Zealot harassment on this right-hand side denies the base from ever happening. And there's still a probe down to the bottom left, despite killing off that pylon. There's still that probe there that can throw down another pylon.
And he will. It'd be a mistake if he didn't.
The resilience of MaNa is really showing through these past couple of series, I gotta say.
All right, so what I expect from MaNa here, knowing his opponent's economy is kind of crippled, there's 2 big options to choose from. Depending on his own decision, the way his upgrades are lining up may signify him going for one of them, but it's either you attack when you get +2, you get a couple of extra high Templar so you can storm when you do attack, and you just go out with a decently sized army. Or you try to slow it up, take a 4th base, and allow your opponent to finally take a 4th and get back in the game. Will MaNa take the aggressive route or the defensive one?
Well, the Zealots, they're certainly going to deny any more income here from Tefel. He's looking to push him from not the best of angles. Compared to the previous one that he's using, this one is a bit harder to make work. There's plenty of force fields available to MaNa to try and push this away, and he doesn't even need that.
Does MaNa go for the win now? What is he going to do? Rebuilds that assimilator, adding on more and more units as his upgrades are about to align. Blink, Storm, and +2. And it looks like on the left-hand side, he's going to play it out slower. 4th base at first. Not going to rush across the map and attempt to win the game outright. He has... Well, he doesn't really have any spotting on the right-hand side. Okay, now he will. Pylons. I was going to say, if he moves down to defend his left, he's a bit blind on the right-hand side. But with pylons here, he can see units coming, so he can successfully go down to the left to make sure he gets his 4th base up.
Cute move by Tefel, following the probe around with the changeling. And, well, Tefel now looking to push down the left-hand side. He will probably get the cancellation on this fourth base, which is a nice pickup there for him. But this has all been spotted in terms of movement by the observer, so MaNa could have probably denied that. Had to have been careful of those Vipers, though.
Oh, he can grab some units here, I think.
Whoops.
Oh, just missed.
All right. Well, now it's getting to the point where the max out of Protoss is rapidly approaching, and for Tefel, his army's not as efficient. So he has to be careful about where he takes his engagements. Where are the pulls?
Oh, wow.
Great storms, as well as good blinding clouds. Force MaNa out of the entirety of that area, but still the Colossi reign supreme. There's not really too much that the Roach Hydra can do about that, and the Zealots are in the fourth base.
Yeah, this is MaNa's fight to win.
And look at the supply counts, 178 to 133. MaNa with the resilience of an absolute tiger. Has just been able to push on
base
forwards.
again on the right-hand side. Great harassment throughout the game, throughout the tournament.
Yeah.
And as MaNa marches down here, there is hardly anything that can stop this. 3 Ultras on the way, not enough considering there's so many Immortals.
No.
And Tefel acknowledging he didn't play so good, and his hopes for qualifying are gone. And he thinks that he could have won both these games, and to argue, you know, on his side, he did pick off the third base a couple of times in a row, but now as he sees the impending doom, this Protoss army which cannot be stopped, Tefel, unfortunately, is not going to be able to tie this series up, will not make it to the Internet Extreme Masters Cologne main event, and it looks like it'll be the other Polish player.
Yeah, he's accepted his defeat, but teamless MaNa will accept the victory as long as he's able to keep his entire army alive, which I'm pretty sure is going to happen. He has plenty of Immortals in there to defeat any kind of Ultralist numbers, and he has Zealots in the main base as well, working on the Hive. What a weekend it has been for MaNa, who has recently left his team and is looking for a new one, qualifying for Cologne through such a grueling bracket. Is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, that's right. Defeating Tilo, defeating Kane, losing to Jack G, who qualified in the winner bracket. And then, of course, MaNa had to then go through Nurcio in a rivalry that he doesn't really win very often, but he did today. And, of course, his games against Tefel here. Tefel's last shout is going to be with these Ultralists, but as you said, with 4 or 5 Immortals underneath this, Storm's available, still a chunk load of damage from the Colossus available.
Oh.
This is just going to be annihilation for Tefel.
Everything sits under the Storms for as long as they possibly can do, and unfortunately here, these last 2 or 3 Ultralisks are going to melt. And there you go. GG, well played. MaNa advances on to the Intel Extreme Masters Cologne.
Congratulations to MaNa, and he will be playing here alongside 4GG, Jack G, Pult QXC, and of course Hero Marine. The players that have qualified now has been completed through the North American Europe qualifiers. The Korean qualifier will be played out on Wednesday, I think, is the day that is, to have some Koreans, more Koreans added into the mix. And then of course we'll be close to the full list of qualification spots for the Intel Extreme Masters Cologne tournament.
Yeah, I believe you will be flying during the time where I'll be casting some more Intel Extreme Masters qualifiers. So join me for a bit of solo casting action for the rest of the qualifiers here for Cologne. But aside from that, that pretty much does it for us today.
That is right. So I hope you enjoyed these past 2 days for StarCraft 2 casting action in 2014, but lots more to come over the next couple of months for sure.
All right, without further ado, guys, that wraps it up from us here at ESL TV. Make sure to follow us at ApolloSC2 and at Kyalaris on Twitter, and that's going to do it. We'll see you later.